Greetings everybody, and welcome to a video on my channel. Not even going to call this one out as being G for G. I'm not going to call this one out as being TTC, Tim's Tech Corner. This is going to be a bit of an unusual video for this channel, as it's going to be a talkie, not an action one, and it's not even really going to be related to gaming. I can't even stretch the fact that it's a talkie video with a topic and a point that's related to gaming. In all honesty, this is a video that I think I would like to do on a potential second channel that I might do. I've, for a long time now, long time being several months, have thought about making an offshoot channel called The Political Napalm that deals with things that I kind of want to talk about that aren't necessarily related to gaming. If you've been a fan of the channel and you've watched it for a while, you probably would realize this is going to be similar to the Jessica Price video or the Zoe Quinn videos and things like that. However, again, there's no way to taffy stretch this into gaming except for sort of the point of my video. So, as you can tell from the title, there is something that I think YouTube can allow to happen for the Onision problem that an outside factor could act in YouTube's favor and dispose of the problem for them, since they don't seem to be doing it themselves. So, first, before I put up this lovely backdrop, you may be wondering, what exactly is an Onision? What is that? Who is that? And actually, before I go any further, there's a disclaimer that I wanted to put in the beginning of the video in prep for what's going to happen in 2020. Warning, the content in this video is not suitable for those under 13 years of age. If you are, please stop the video now. Okay, so I wanted to say that in the beginning. But, so this right here is an Onision, the banana song. The song that got him 77 million views and got him on Tosh.0 oh so many years ago. By the way, I'm a huge fan of Tosh. I feel like I haven't seen him in quite a long time. It used to be generally on a given day I would come home from work and there would be Tosh on Comedy Central, and I would get to watch, I think, a half hour that he had, and I liked his stuff. I found it funny. He's a jackass. I mean, let's be frank. He can be a tough pill to swallow, but I've always found him funny, if not a little edgy, and his stand-up was also pretty good. So Onision got his banana song featured on Tosh many, many years ago, and it netted him a tremendous amount of views, and it started, probably kickstarted a good deal of his notoriety on YouTube. Now, unlike somebody who becomes famous within a sphere of a streaming media like Ninja for Fortnite and gaming, like Yodi Slaya did for Borderlands content, rip Yodi Slaya, like Total Biscuit did for gaming content, rip Total Biscuit. You know, even if you are a Marvel Avengers Alliance fan, the way Kingfisher was within Marvel Avengers Alliance spheres, when you become popular in the more general side of YouTube, your popularity tends to have the potential to go viral or meme and reach tremendous amounts of people. You may have a Ninja who gets incredible amounts of views, or Markiplier or PewDiePie, but they sit well, PewDiePie is a little bit different, same for Markiplier, but you know what I mean, when you might have somebody who reaches 100 million views on their video, but it's for a specific topic or game, as compared to somebody like Onision who reaches 77 million views and gets widely known. So my knowledge of Onision is basically, it's very bookended. It is the equivalent of Interstate 40 throughout the United States. There's an endpoint in the East Coast, Wilmington, North Carolina, and then there is an endpoint in Barstow, California on the West Coast. I have been to both ends of it. I have actually driven nearly the entirety of that highway in 2 round trips, so 4 times, from North Carolina to California there and back twice. My knowledge is basically the Wilmington end and the Barstow end, and I know nothing in between. He's been off my radar since Banana Power, when I encountered it on Tosh like ages ago. It's sort of one of those original meme viral videos of YouTube's infancy that just retains its sort of classic nature. And then the other bookend of that I know about Onision is everything that's been happening with him lately, all the accusations. Actually, I'm sorry, I don't want to belie the situation there. They're not accusations. All the truth that is coming out about Onision and like the Chris Hansen videos and everything, the dude is straight up foul. He is a pox on humanity. He is a blight. He knows exactly what he is doing when he is on the web, and he has essentially achieved a David Koresh style cult infamy. You might be wondering, well, Napalm, what do you mean? I don't really know Onision. I don't know what's going on with him. What's the big deal? The big deal is he has spent just shy of a decade, probably since about 2011, maybe earlier, using the internet as a grooming field. He basically has set up a corner of the net where he has planted girls with issues and then reaped them whenever he wanted to. He's achieved this through the videos on his channels. Apparently he's got 3 of them now. Believe it or not, the one that was considered somewhat archival, that has his old stuff, has actually had a lot of modern activity on it. And I mean, even as 5 days ago. 5 days ago very much is in the thick of the controversy that he's embroiled in. It's weird to think that he's still trying to do videos. You'll see that his views are down to about 20 some odd K, and the like-dislike ratio is disabled and comments are disabled, because you know exactly what the comments would be. But you can go back to the Banana song if you want to make comments on him, and of which I've done. I threw a little jab at him there. He has basically spent since 2011 till now in 2019 treating the internet as farmland for his personal and somewhat deviated sexual desires. He is a word that I'm maybe only going to use once in this video, because as Chris Hansen points out in his videos, it can screw up the algorithm. He's a predator. That's what he is, top to bottom. So for the rest of the video, I'm going to refer to him as Predalien, which you might know is the result of the facehugger impregnating one of those things in the movie that was Those Things versus Aliens, and when the thing gave birth, it was a combination of that thing which Arnold Schwarzenegger fought and an alien, so it was called a Predalien. That's what I'm going to call him. He's a groomer. He's a Predalien. He has committed acts that very borderline come close to tripping up the laser wire of that word that pertains to actions against minors. Another word that we're going to try to avoid a little bit over here. Yeah. That's what he's been doing since 2011. How has he been doing this? Well, he makes videos that the girls in the Chris Hansen series have admitted were enticing to them at a specific age and a point in their life, and that is a middle teenage period to a late teenage period. And apparently he has produced videos of like self-harm and body image and body positivity and don't be depressed and don't be suicidal. If red alerts are going off in your brain, if fire alarms and ringkeeper bells are timekeeper bells are going off in your head. They should, because what immediately do you think is the market for a video like that? Well, there's only one thing that's aimed at, and that's not 30-year-old divorcees who are now single with a child. They're not aimed at 25-year-old dudes looking to get workout tips. They're aimed at impressionable female teens. That's the market, or the niche, that he's carved out with his videos and his forums. Apparently on his forums, that you can't really access now unless you use XYZ or the Wayback Machine, he had threads up there of like, let Onision rate your body parts, or would Onision date you? And you have girls posting pictures with Onision's name and like marker on a trim belly or a thigh or near some cleavage and everything. And essentially he set up a personal Tinder. I mean, what else do you think that could be if girls of various ages, and you certainly hope they're legal, but you don't know, it could be a 14-year-old posting like a cleavage picture or a thigh, with what, bikini underwear. I mean, it's a thigh, it's a leg, but at the same time, you're like, that could be a little racy. And if that girl's 15, that's super bad right here, folks. So, and remember this. Keep this in mind for later in the video, because that's where the meat of this is all going to come together. If he's doing that, he's planting crops, is what he's doing. He's literally lining up potentials. He's got a Tinder going on without knowing if he's swiped right or left, essentially. And then after several women were mentally abused and physically put through the ringer, he would eventually develop a relationship with a woman named Lanybot, who would become his wife. But now Lanybot is transitioning towards being a man and is becoming a man by the name of Kai. Now, whether or not there will be physical surgery or if there's hormones involved, I don't really know. But Kai, when female, bore Onision 2 children. So now there's children in the house over there of various ages, and there have been children present for some of these stories that the girls have been talking about on the Chris Hansen series. Lainey, at this point, is basically an enabler. It has been admitted by many of the girls who got into this relationship with either Kai or Onision or both. A lot of them admitted they were drawn into the world by Kai. And when you are Onision and you've carved out some celebrity in your niche of the internet, and suddenly you are a 15, 16-year-old girl with issues at home, and you contact Lainey, or you tweet at Lainey, now Kai, I guess we'll say Kai. You tweet at Kai and you get a response, you're starstruck. You're like, wow, I got a response. Like, imagine going to a Cyberpunk video and saying, no, you're beautiful, and tagging Keanu Reeves, and the legitimate Keanu Reeves replies to you, you're going to like shit yourself. Well, that's what was happening in a lot of these scenarios, is that people would tweet at Kai or comment on the videos, and all of a sudden they would get responses from one, if not both of them, and it was like talking to a celebrity. And it's definitely the correct way of phrasing it, because even in the minor niche that I carved out for myself in the Marvel Avengers Alliance days, I would get invited to groups, and people would be like, oh, that's Napalm, wow, hey, you're the guy who does the videos. And I'm like, no, I'm just a normal person. Okay, so I have some videos up on YouTube, but I'm a normal person. I like to respond to as many comments as I can. I know I've seen this quote-unquote celebrity treatment even in my little tiny dribs and drabs that I've received. So you can imagine somebody like Onision, whose video has been on Tosh.0 and has 77 million views and everything, and suddenly he's talking to you. Or at the time, Lainey, his wife, is talking to you, and you're like, oh my god. I mean, imagine walking down an aisle in your grocery store, and all of a sudden, chocolate rain guy, and you're like, holy shit, it's the fucking chocolate rain guy. You're going to be a little bit starstruck, even though this isn't a Hollywood person or, a well-known artist in music or other forms of media. They're a YouTube celebrity. So these girls were starstruck, and that affected them. And many of them at various ages, whether it be 16 on up to 18, a little older, were getting involved in Onision and Kai's lives, and things happened. So some of the things that happened in there were against what's called the Mann Act. So let's say Onision was 25 at the time, and Onision develops a relationship with somebody who is 16. But in his state and her state, 16 is not a valid age of consent. But say they meet in a neighboring state to her, and they meet in a hotel, and they consummate their relationship, where 16 is the age of consent, where maybe it was 17 in his and her state. That's essentially crossing state lines for a sexual act with a minor, and that trips up the Mann Act. So there are some legal ramifications to the things that he's done. And if you watch the Chris Hansen videos and you go looking for the now very famous Shiloh tweets, where she spent about 10, 11, 12, 15 tweets describing the hell that she had while she was there. You watch them get interviewed by Chris Hansen. The place is, it's the Waco compound, but in Washington State on the far west coast. That is a house of ill repute going on there. I mean, one of them mentioned there was like sex in the bed, and the kids, the babies were in the room but asleep, and I think maybe one of even the babies was on the bed. There's been grooming, which maybe not always grooming can be tackled under the law, but there is a definite morality there. When you have somebody move in at 16 and don't do anything with, but you have a plan to do something with when they become of age, that's called grooming. And that's what was going on over there. So he's a bad person, and now Kai has become maybe a victim, potentially still a victim, but very much a willing partner, a little bit of a Bonnie and Clyde under a Stockholm syndrome kind of a deal. When Kai was Lainey, females are more easily trusted on the net because it is always guys that are thought of as the predaliens and the creepy people, and girls can be just as bad, but it's not as widely known or talked about, nor does it happen nearly as much. But Lainey and Onision set Lainey up to be this sort of handler, this assistant in all of this, maybe not unlike Epstein and Epstein's woman, who's still at large, that everybody wants to talk to and everything. A lot of people admitted they wanted to get involved in that location in Washington because they liked Lainey and they thought they were having a friendship with Lainey or a relationship with Lainey, who was potentially polyamorous in the relationship with Onision and everything. So it spirals wildly out of control after 2011. Shiloh, you have to feel incredibly bad for that girl. Onision filmed her having a seizure, and from what little of the clips I've seen, I think it's a grand mal seizure. So there are two types of seizures out there. There's petit mal and grand mal. Grand mal is the more classic one, And by the way, if you translate it from French, it means little bad or big bad. So that gives you an idea of how serious these are. Grand mal is the classic one that you think about when you think of somebody with seizures. They're falling down, they're out of control of their body. You have to watch that they don't swallow their tongue or bite it. You see it in medical dramas, House, and everything like that. Petite mal seizures are different. There usually is not a lot of thrashing or physical movement. It's more about blanking out. And in one of the lowest points of my life, in terms of what I'm going to tell you guys in just a little bit, I knew a friend in college my freshman year who had petite mal seizures, and I witnessed her go through one. It was because she had a tumor that was removed in her brain, but it was big enough that it left roots, and the roots were still there. They hadn't tackled it yet. She had a petite mal seizure in the beginning of the year, and I watched her go through it, and it's like watching lag. It's like watching 5,000 millisecond lag of like dial-up from the States to China. It just, people would ask her a question, and it would take her a full minute to even respond. It was something like, do you need water? Or UK, do you need something to drink? And literally about a minute and 15 seconds later was, no, I'm okay. I think I just need to sit here. So why this was the lowest point of my life is I accidentally gave her a petite mal seizure. I slammed a door of a study room a little too loud when she was in it, and it was by mistake. I didn't mean to do it, and I got informed by some of my friends who were in that study lounge that she had been sitting by the window and had a petite mal seizure after I did that. So I'm going to hell at a handbasket. But in the Shiloh video, it definitely does look like she has a grand mal. I mean, it has petite mal aspects to it, but it seems to be a grand mal seizure. There was definitely a little bit of body movement. He shaved her head during intercourse. I mean, he basically owns these girls and breaks them down to the point where they see nothing other than him and his life. And he knows what he's doing when he's made those videos on those topics, because they attract, and I'm sorry if this is offensive, but it attracts the typical daddy issues girl. Somebody who's between 14 and 18 and has a troubled home life. Maybe is into self-harm as a form of release of the stress and pressure they're under. Cutting is way bigger in women than men, mostly because women are taught that looks are what makes the world go round. So when you cut, you're sort of defying that pressure isn't put on guys nearly as much, so they don't cut. They maybe will get into drugs, they'll maybe get into extreme partying or crazy risk-taking driving, and that's how they cope. But women tend to cope by rebelling against what society tells them to do, and that's be pretty and be thin and be attractive, and so they cut. I knew a cutter back 2002, 2003-ish, and it was an internet friend. It was somebody in a clan, but she was a cutter for her stresses and everything. It's a sad situation, but he knew what he was doing when he did the videos, when he had the forum posts. He was attracting a specific set of girls, and these girls who go on the Chris Hansen show, you can see that thread runs through all of them. They all admitted to issues in the home at the time. And so now that you know a little bit about him, and you know what he is, he's a predalien, I'm going to refer to him as the Jurassic Park raptor, and we'll get into why over here. So come 2020, YouTube is going to be dealing with a situation heavily that affects potentially me and my compatriots on YouTube, and that's COPPA, or COPPA. Well, COPPA really. COPPA is the Children Online Privacy and Protection Act. It's something that has been around for a long, long time, and content creators greatly fear its potential effects come 2020, because YouTube was found to be in violation of it, got sued a lot of money, they settled, but they're not doing a good job of protecting the content creators. They're literally standing in the corner to the Arrested Development outro music with a giant shrug as content creators of borderline kid-friendly material are scared about the future of their channels and content, because if you check that it's kid-friendly, you lose ad revenue, you lose the ability to notify your fans and subscribers. You're essentially running in a crippled state, what Windows might call notification mode. Your framework is there, your skeleton is there, but you start to lose a lot of the muscle and the tendons of a functional YouTube channel. If you mark it as not kid-friendly, but the FTC defines it as kid-friendly or kid-attracting, then you may get a fine of up to $42,000. And that's the part that YouTube is not really helping people know what the definitions are. There's some vagaries out there, like if it deals with kid topics like toys and games and superheroes, and what if it's colorful? What if it's easily digestible and its message a literal chicken nugget of a video? And, you may have adults reviewing Nerf guns, but not for kids, just saying this is a well-made thing and it has 100 rounds. That might be kid-friendly. You may have an adult doing a video on Minecraft, which is bright and colorful and simple. That may be designed as kid-friendly. You have me and other people doing videos on games that feature superheroes that are in movies, that are in PG movies, that could be kid-friendly, kid-attracting. Here is where I'm going to tie this all together. COPPA to YouTubers is kind of been this dark specter looming over what may happen in 2012. Sort of the Tyrannosaurus Rex of Jurassic Park, the original movie, Jeff Goldblum. Nature finds a way. Shirtless, sitting there, leaning back. That's the one we're talking about. So they spend most of the movie running from the T-Rex and trying to not get chomped by the T-Rex, who gets out of the T-Rex paddock and everything. And the T-Rex is set up to be the bad guy. That's COPPA. Well, they also have to deal with the raptors, especially towards the middle and the end of the movie. That's Onision. But what do you remember happening towards the end of the movie in the main lobby of the Jurassic Park Visitor Center? COPPA comes in as the giant T-Rex and assaults the Onision raptors as they try and track down you, the YouTube viewer, the girls who might fall in line in Onision's content. And COPPA comes and chews Onision's neck off and throws it out of the way and allows everybody to escape, and all of a sudden COPPA becomes the hero. The T-Rex is the hero, and the raptors, who have been the more vicious bad guy at that part of the movie, are defeated, and the villain is defeated. I think potentially COPPA can be wielded against Onision and be used to deplatform him on YouTube in a way that YouTube is not doing itself. So he's been deplatformed on Patreon. He no longer can be an entity on Patreon and gain money from it. But YouTube has taken no action against him, and YouTube has been the farm in which he can predalien his sick habits. By the way, his sick habits by Shiloh have been described as sex about 8 times a day, and then still finding time and energy to fap to anime. And at one point, one of the ways in which he broke her down was to compare her to thin-waisted, big-boobed anime girls and like, you don't satisfy me because you don't look like that. And that's the kind of thing that breaks down a girl like Onision had been with, because they feel, instead of, well, fuck you, that's not me, that's your opinion, peace out, they are so into him and so brainwashed, they try to be those things, and then like they don't eat, and just they have stress and anxiety and seizures. So that's how bad this guy is. So Copa, I mean, if you go and look at the I'm a Banana video, it's easily digestible, it's repeatable lyrics, it's singable, simple chicken nugget lyrics, it's flashy colors, it's a happy banana suit and everything like that. The FTC, if Onision is so embroiled in his narcissistic life right now and doesn't know anything about the YouTube world and doesn't know about Copa and what Copa could mean, he's probably not going to protect himself properly. And due to that, if he doesn't check that I'm a Banana is kid friendly, yeah, I think you see where I'm going there. The FTC could fine him $42,000. And when you start taking a look at the rest of that channel, because if you look at the channel that it's on, and I don't want to put it on the screen because he's been notorious lately for striking people for having their likeness on there, and I absolutely welcome him to attempt to strike this. I really do, because he will be into the fight of his life for somebody that is far more intelligent than he is. He likes to portray himself as intelligent and devious, and it's been pointed out that Onision attempts to do what's called the Kubrick stare. So the Kubrick stare can be found in the likes of Jack Nicholson in The Shining, Clockwork Orange media, Private Pile, from Full Metal Jacket. It is where you tilt your chin down towards your Adam's apple and your chest, and you are below the level of the camera lens, and you look up at the camera lens through darkened eyes, and usually the way the lighting is your face is very shadowed. Your chin kind of disappears. You get a very angular Joker look to your face, and you look maniacal. He's done that. He's dressed up as a Joker. When one of the girls in the Hanson videos said that Kai did not pick the girl up at the airport, it was Onision who did, and he did it dressed as the Joker. She said, and I quote, "He's a fairly tall person already, which is a little bit intimidating, and then he was dressed up as the Joker and showed up in his Tesla, and the whole thing was very unnerving and unsettling and, a little bit stressful." When you're emo or you're goth or you're a scene kid or you're a Hot Topic kid, you live the life of darkness because you wake up and you breathe it. It's like the South Park goth kids. You wake up and you're like, life is bad, stabby rip, stab, stab my stabby black heart, and hate the world. I cannot take it anymore. I'm so tired of everything, you materialistic oppression, stabby rip, stab my stabby black heart. You live that. That is who you are, and it's not an act, because you are living, breathing, shitting, licorice-colored emo shit when you go to the bathroom. You probably have so much dark dye in your hair, it's seeping into your brain. What Onision is doing, as some shitty car goes by outside, what Onision is doing is he's playing up to the psychosis look, the Joker look, the what people feared the new Joker movie might do to people. He's playing psychotic. He's playing devious and evil for a purpose, for effect. And that's not somebody who lives really in the world of darkness on purpose like an emo kid or a goth kid. It is somebody who's dabbling in there as a tool or a utility to seem dark and edgy. And unfortunately for some girls, like, it works. Some girls it's intimidating, and for some girls it's like, ooh, he's deep, he's creepy. And it comes across to people who are not affected by it as like, you're just stupidly psychotic, aren't you? And yeah, that's how he comes across, and that's an intimidation factor that he's used, and he knows exactly the tools that he has when he speaks. And unfortunately, it works against that 13, 14, 15, 16, 17, 18-year-old, maybe 19, very low 20s. But then it stops working because it's shallow and vapid and full of no substance whatsoever. And people, that's why he also goes for those girls. He goes for girls that he can manipulate like taffy, that have built up no resistance and no resilience and rigidity to their structure. At that point, you can't bend iron. You can bend and shape gum. And that's what he goes for, is he goes for gum and taffy. And you age out of that past a certain point. You get life experience that helps you age out of that. And it's why he goes and farms daddy trouble girls. It certainly makes sense. Family problems, daddy issue girls are his market. And those videos can very, very easily appeal to those that are younger than the 13. Banana Song is just perfect. It is literally a universe of trouble that video alone can present for him. Now, $42,000, maybe not a lot, but hey, for some people, that's a year's salary. That's the majority of a year's salary. If you're running around in a Tesla, you probably can take that hit, but how many of those hits that can you take? You can go through his video, and if you rank up 4, 5, 6 right off the top of the bat, he's in a lot of trouble. And if he starts running afoul of the FTC, this is maybe where YouTube can finally shut him down and not have to fear anything. So Chris Hansen has admitted that he is trying to get in touch with Susan W. and YouTube heads of state, get somebody on the line and be like, why am I not allowed to say the Predalien word? And I'm like running into trouble and getting demonetized and stuff like that. We're not showing up in algorithms. When this guy who is literally doing bad things, proven bad things, is allowed to stay on YouTube and not get deplatformed. And she has said like, well, let me get you in touch with somebody who can discuss that with you. We can't watch everybody. My media people will tell you how we responded to that in the past. So essentially she said, I know I'm the president, but let me have you get in touch with my PR department. They'll tell you. And in reality, everybody's looking at YouTube like, come on, you don't want this. You don't want this now with COPPA being such a huge thing. And you have this probably nationally known Predalien on your platform right now who's still active, who still very much conceivably could act out his desires, grooming, and doing stuff like that right now. It would be stupid if he did, because the FBI is aware of him and is watching him, but if your proclivities are that big of an addiction, you may not be able to handle it or control it. So this is where I think COPPA gets to be the Tyrannosaurus Rex that comes in at the end of the movie, chews up a few of the raptors by their neck and throws them out of the way, and everybody escapes. That's YouTube's out. I think YouTube could allow COPPA to do their job for them and not have to worry about freedom of speech and the First Amendment and things like that. And this is not the time now. This is not the American political climate time to allow things that border on underage fingers. I'm trying to think of how, if the soil of the land is YouTube, and you have videos that are potentially grooming and do things of those underage. Again, I don't want to use the word. It begins sounding like Pedro and ends in philia. And if that is a root that is running through the ground of the YouTube soil and is branching out and creating roots and gaining structure, that needs to be ripped out, sight unseen. Nobody in their right mind at this point is going to defend him and say he has a right to be on the platform unless they are of the same ilk that he is. And you don't care about that ilk. You shouldn't care about the people who would back him up. Fuck them. They're bad, morally wrong people. Even if maybe they're not legally wrong, morally it's a bad, black, dark area. It's not even gray. What he's been doing isn't even gray anymore. It's 100% verified. I believe every single word out of all of the girls' mouths that have been on Have a Seat with Chris Hansen. Get him off the platform. You know what he's doing is wrong, and in this day and age where people throw out theories of Pizzagate and what has happened with Epstein and what is happening with Weinstein and all these accusations like Jim Jordan in Ohio and all of those things, this is a bad time to not uproot any of those sick trees and weeds and throw them out in the garbage and thresh them in a wood chipper. And if YouTube is afraid of doing that, allow COPPA to do it for you. Allow the FTC to do it for you. Allow some other entity to wield a tool that we're all afraid of and actually use it for good and take care of a bad situation. So this will be it for me. I'll put up a link to this background in the video. I encourage you all to go search on YouTube for Have a Seat with Chris Hansen. Watch the videos. Watch the Shiloh videos. Watch the Billy video, the Sarah video, and you'll see just how vile of a human being Onision has been for a long time. And this video will make a lot of sense. And you'll probably agree with me that the evil that COPPA represents to YouTube creators might have its good guy moment, might actually not be the hero we want or the hero we deserve, but it's going to be the hero Onision, Greg Jackson, deserves. So thanks guys for putting up with this video. I know it is very, very different for me on this channel. It might not be different if you know me because I've gotten into topics like this before, but this is very different for the channel. And if you agree with me or if you don't agree with me, put comments below, talk about the video, share it, subscribe off of it. And if this is content you would like to discuss with me in the future and have a conversation with me, because I always try to respond to these things, let me know, and then maybe I will make the offshoot channel where we can have these intellectual discussions and videos. Thanks everybody. I really look forward to hearing what you've got to say about this topic. Thanks everybody.